much before the era which is officially dated on arrival of crafts in whatever form. We don't have many subcontinental references available about the history of Kashmiri craft, except that this reference from Dilana. We don't know did he finally return to Kashmir or not, but we know he was a Kashmiri, and he mentions this many times. 7th century we hear from Human Sang that we are a place where good woolen cloth is being made. But unfortunately in Sanskrit literature, perhaps Sanskrit being meant for a language for those people who are in the higher tradition, crafts have never been during Hindu period treated as something which is the status which Muslims gave to crafts or Jews gave to crafts. So we don't have many references in the writings, in Sanskrit writing, except that Human Sang mentions it. But another thing which I would like to mention here, we have some Arab references and Iran references about Kashmiri crafts, surprisingly so. The Iranian references from a person, a very famous and renowned biographer of Prophet. His name is Zainul Abidin Rahnuma. Zainul Abidin Rahnuma has written biography of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And it was in 60s when he wrote it. This biography has attracted interest from Kashmir also, because this book has been translated by Shamsuddin Ahmad Sahab from Persian to Urdu. So the book is available in Kashmir also. He writes many things about Prophet, as Iranians would have known. They are very close to the land, the sacred land. So he would have written many things which he has. And Prophet's personality has been extensively described, researched, mentioned by both Muslim and other biographers. So he had access to Prophet literature. He mentions this very interesting fact. Prophet was married to a rich woman who was also a businesswoman, who was a merchant. His name was Khadija. And he mentions his trousseau and the items in the trousseau of Khadija. And there's a mention of Kashmir shawl in that. Now 7th century is 700 years before Shahmdan's arrival. I don't know what source, the traditional historian they don't write ye kahan se pata chala, wo kahan se pata. It might also not be a fact for a while. He has listed items perhaps which was the most precious items of that time, so that he could prove that Khadija was a rich woman and she went with a lot of stuff in trousseau to the house of Prophet. But the mention is there, which means outside the subcontinent, shawl was being mentioned and related and linked to Kashmir much earlier than the dating which we are giving to shawls. Now go slightly beyond. Muslim, till late, we had Maulanas who came from traditional education system. They would write biographies. We call them Sirat. Sirat al-Nabi means life of the Prophet. There is one particular Maulana who came from mainstream education and wrote biography of Prophet, translated that into Urdu, Urdu. He translated Quran in Urdu, which had biographical reference to Prophet. His name was Maulana Abdul Majid Daryabadi. You would not have heard his name. He was not a traditional kind of a scholar. He was a mainstream scholar, read English, perhaps also formally educated in English. He translates the biography. In one of the areas he mentions who all were the rich people around Prophet Muhammad. So he mentions Abdul Rahman, Abdul Muttalib, 5-6 names. About 3-4 people he mentions that they were also having Kashmir shawls with them. I don't know, we can't, there's no chronology by which you can establish these things. Perhaps it's not possible to do a chronology. The only thing is when you look back at these things, you get some insights and which lead to a situation where we find Kashmir as a commercial, economic and cultural region did have a solid presence of crafts even before Central Asian influence started creeping in. So that is one reference which I wanted to make at flag here, that antiquity of Kashmir shawl.
You have 6 minutes at your disposal. You have to cap it within 20 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So 20 minutes okay?
No. अभी तो है बल्कि 6 minutes है.
Okay. I can do it before that.
Yes.
So this is the reference which I wanted to make here to bring home this point that the antiquity and history of Kashmiri crafts is as old as perhaps Kashmir, or as old as it evolved in other areas. Everything has not been borrowed by us. We have borrowed a lot. Our cultures have borrowed. We are not the only culture. Every culture has borrowed. We have also borrowed. But that doesn't mean we didn't have our foundational processes around. Now going back to the statistical data on crafts, this is the total craft production which we had over a period of years. But I only, if you want your attention on this dark brown, the larger kind of a figure which you have here. So this is production and export, and you will see exports have been reasonably substantial in the production process or production sale of Kashmiri crafts. And this export production has been there for centuries. Kashmiris have always woven shawls, especially shawls, carpets, paper mache for markets outside Kashmir. That is what export is, and that has been happening till late. Unfortunately, now the global trends of recession in the European and American market impacts our exports, or recession impacts our exports, or logistical disturbance impacts our export, but our crafts have been export oriented. So that is the status of crafts, and we have a huge employment of young artisans in Kashmir. I also want to flag a point here. We know the wages for crafts in Kashmir have always been an issue. The craftsmen do not get good wages. The craftsmen are not paid well. But there are craftsmen and craftsmen. I have also had the privilege of working in the craft sector in the country for about 4 or 5 years, so I have a national view also. The best craftsman is never unemployed. The issue is with the skill, not with the craft per se. We have not diverted or invested much in upgradation of skill. In Kashmir, we have found we have craftsmen who are reasonably, I wouldn't say they don't become, craft never makes you a capitalist, they never make you rich, but they give you a reasonable, decent living as long as skill backup is there. So it's not a question of exploitation, it's also something within us. And we have also heard that many craftsmen are leaving craft. That is a fact, but this another fact also which this study tells us. As many people who leave the craft, there are as many people who come in the craft. We had gone through a government census where a particular area in Srinagar was supposed to be a craft concentration center of about 2,500 craftsmen. When we went there are only 350 craftsmen. There were another area, Nurbag and around, which had developed, which was not there on the map. So let's not worry about it. The all important and necessary things is that we will have to use modern idiom for promotion of crafts, do upgradation, provide some kind of a social security to craftsmen. Kashmiri crafts will continue to remain futuristic. They will always have a market. They will also represent us in both economic and cultural terms. Thank you.